Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today, I'm looking at Murder, She Wrote, Reflections of the Mind. Or as I like to call it, that time Murder, She Wrote, Reigned with Terror. We begin the episode with a quiet house with some pictures. One is a young Angela Lansbury, and this one looks like that woman in Halloween Season of the Witch. You know, the Halloween movie without Michael Myers in it. This lady's asleep with one of Jessica's books, only to be woken by her open music box, which freaks her out into the hallway. The music starts again and she's spooked by this door, which sends her into a panic downstairs, where she calls the police and arms herself, nearly stabbing Scott in the face. Jessica heads into the medical centre and into the psych ward, where she finds Scott and wants to know what happened. Scott runs through what happened, so Jess goes in to see her. Yeah, that's definitely the Halloween woman. Francesca says she's just tired, not crazy, and Dr. March arrives, delighted to meet Jess. Wait, I know this guy too. My gut reaction says the A-team. He's very nice to Francesca and gets her released. And on the way home, Cheryl says she has a history of drugs. And watch out for that oddly placed hitchhiker. Are you not gonna go check if he's okay? Back home, Francesca asks if it's weird she married a younger man, but Jess is supportive and picks up the music box, which freaks Francesca out. She doesn't want Scott to go to his board meeting, but he says one of them has to go, before he explains to Jess that her and her late husband's bedroom has been sealed up. Margaret shows Jessica to her room and says Francesca has been acting weirdly lately and needs help, while downstairs, Brooke hits on Scott, who tells her absolutely not, which she doesn't accept, and they make out, which Carl witnesses. Dr. March hits on Cheryl, who turns him down, so awkwardly leaves, and then Scott gets in his car, which surely will get to his destination safely. The phone rings, and it's her dead husband, so Jess gives him an earful. Oh, and Francesca's down. Wow, Scott, way to drive like a jackass, and off the cliff he goes. The sheriff reports his death to Cheryl and Jess, but she thinks it's foul play, while Francesca wakes up to the music box again and finds her bird dead, so screams into the hall. Margaret reports that the bird is fine, and Jess breaks the news about Scott, and later the sheriff says Scott was drugged with tranquilizers, which Francesca admits to using, but the bottle is empty. Uh-oh. Jess leaves Francesca's room hearing a noise, but ignores it. Jesus Christmas, that scared the shit out of me! And Jessica says, no, you're seeing things, but Francesca says it was Ross. Jessica bugs Carl the next day until he helps her nose at the sealed bedroom, and the dog digs up a dead bird, so maybe the dog did it? Jessica asks Margaret about some missing alcohol before she catches Brooke breaking into Scott's desk. There goes the music box again, which doesn't stop when Francesca closes it, and she thinks she's going nuts. Things get worse when the sheriff disses the dirt on Scott and Brooke's relationship, and a squabble breaks out over who did it, which results in Dr. March taking her back to the hospital. Jess has the sealed room unsealed. Wow, I've never seen the wardrobe match the wallpaper before, but the sheriff thinks this is all a waste of time and goes away. Cheryl explains to Jess that Francesca blames herself for her first husband's death and heads out to see her, while Jess pokes around the house, finding a secret door through to the old bedroom, which has a lot of incriminating stuff, including Carson Todd and a recorded message from Francesca's first husband. Cheryl gets home in a terrible storm, while Francesca freaks out in the hospital. Oh sweet, the dog has a hat. Oh, hey Carl. The pair go to the bedroom where they find Scott's pipe, so Jess shows Cheryl the hidden evidence as Dr. March makes it to the house and gets grabbed. Cheryl freaks out and blabs her plan, which causes sudden Carl. Jess calls Carson Todd and gets him to admit to everything, except to the hat and pipe, before she kills the lights and the sheriff comes crashing in. Jess looks after the cold, wet sheriff as she explains to Dr. March that Cheryl didn't drink and drugged the alcohol that Scott did, which knocked Francesca out, and she worked with Carl to get her money by driving Francesca nuts and killing Scott. Ooh, this was good. I like this one. It was sufficiently creepy with well-defined characters and a decent plot that was paced well and had clues for you to follow along with. The end section was very Diagnosis Murder, Reign of Terror, which came after this, so I wonder if it was inspired by Reflections of the Mind. The acting was solid, especially from Francesca's actress, and there were enough suspects to keep you guessing. Dr. March was a little bit of a weird addition, but I feel like he was a necessary red herring, because a guy posed as Ross in the jump scare. We know it was Carl, and Scott died, so we needed March to take suspicion off Carl, and Brooke took the heat off Cheryl, so they were a decent pool of suspects. I liked Margaret as a character. She was clearly not guilty or involved in any way, but her presence and interactions with Jessica were refreshing and was a nice steady element in an otherwise chaotic story. I do see a problem though. The only way in and out of the sealed room was through Francesca's bedroom, which would surely trap the killer if Francesca was in her room, so they got real lucky that she kept running into the hall. Nevertheless, this episode is definitely worth a watch, as it's a great execution of the Murder, She Wrote formula, so check it out for yourselves. We have one victim, Scott Lodge, who was drugged with tranquilizers, causing him to drive off a cliff, administered by our killer, Cheryl Lodge, who was after her mother's money and tried to drive her nuts with her accomplice Carl. So there you have it. That was Reflections of the Mind. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to keep investigating with me. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.